afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me. My name is Morgan Mad Dog Littlechild, and this is my vlog series, The Anatomy of a Grappler. My martial arts journey began roughly when I was 12, 13 years old. I started training kickboxing in a small gym under the basement of Future Shop up in my home community of Prince George, BC. My knowledge of grappling was very much none at this time. But I was a big fan of pro wrestling, but I was not ignorant to the fact that pro wrestling is staged, set up, super amazing athletes, but not kind of the competitive competition I wanted out of my life. A lot of other sports I tried didn't work out for me at all. I was always getting into fights, teammates, kids from other teams, had a lot of anger issues, so that stuff never really worked out. So I started kickboxing. It quickly humbled me because I was the smallest guy in my gym. I was the youngest, and I was getting my ass whooped all the time, often. At the same time, this was my grade 8 year in high school, I also joined my high school wrestling team. And that's where my exposure to real grappling, competitive grappling began, and just took off from there. So I did grapple through my entire high school career. 4 years more or less. My grade 11 year I kind of took off. And during this time that I was wrestling in my high school, I did the kickboxing up until I was about 14, just 15 years old roughly. And then I seen on Spike TV, they were replaying some UFC fights, and I thought that was the craziest thing I had ever seen. Amazing. I needed to be a part of it. So quickly after fighting with my mom a whole bunch, just super protective, didn't want me doing it at all, I convinced her to go let me train at a local club in Prince George called Kai-10 MMA. And this is where my MMA journey started, as well as my exposure to jiu-jitsu. So I was 15 years old. I'd been training for not even 2 weeks yet, and I heard they needed a fill-in for a fight card. And I was like, oh, I want to fight. I loved getting in a fight. So I was like, throw me in. I'll fight 100%. Let's go. And I was looked on with admiration because I was small, I was young, and I just wanted to jump in with really little to no experience. So they were all for it. Ended up showing up to this fight card, and then my opponent actually didn't show up for whatever reason. So once that happened, there was another gentleman from Revolution Fight Team, based out of here in Langley. And then they were like, oh, you guys can do a grappling fight? I was like, yo, sure, sounds good. And I was like, I was bigger than this kid still. I was pretty small, but I was still bigger than this kid. And I was like, yeah, I can wrestle. I got this for sure, 100%. I did not have it at all, 100%. This kid swept me, did things to me, twisted me up before eventually finishing me in a triangle choke. And after that is where my passion for jiu-jitsu started right away. I was like, wow. This kid, younger than me and smaller than me, just handled me easily, and just took off from there. So as I mentioned earlier, I did wrestle through most of my high school career, and then I did MMA competitively up until I was about 20 years old. I ended up finishing career with 19 MMA fights and 1 boxing fight. Won my boxing fight by knockout. My MMA record is about 10, 8, and 1. So not great, not bad. Winning record, still good. Positive note. Some professional, 4 professional fights, mostly amateur fights. 2 and 2 as a professional. Reason why I stopped competing in MMA, fighting in MMA, was because I lost my last fight. My very last fight, still to this day. I got on an armbar attempt, I got spiked on top of my head, actually cracked a bone in my neck and almost broke my neck. I was actually paralyzed for several minutes. I couldn't move at all. When the paramedics came and they put me onto the stretcher and they moved my neck, something popped in it and I was just able to move again. So that was really scary for me. It really turned me off of MMA for a while. And at the same time, and this is a story that we'll get into deeper detail about another day, after this I did not do well with my mental health. I made some very poor life choices, and actually falling down a path of substance abuse, both with alcohol and drugs. And that actually ended up taking about almost 4 years of my normal life away while I was dealing with these demons and these issues of mine. So my last fight was in 2014, and then right near the end of 2017 again, I had moved back to Prince George and was living with my mom, trying to get myself back up on my feet. And I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu full-time again with some of my old friends, some of my old teammates, and we just had a small program running out of the YMCA. 2 months after my return to training, there was a local tournament, submission-only tournament. Competed in it. Competed in the blue belt division because I was a blue belt before my time away. So continued as a blue belt when we came back, and I did very good. I submitted all 3 of my opponents in the gi division with arm bars and triangles, and then in the no gi division I submitted all of my opponents except 1. So I ended up with double gold on the day with the points format. So that quickly made me realize that I still had it. The fire to compete and really pursue becoming a world champion was still very prevalent. So we continued training out of the YMCA, just doing a thing. There was some drama and some stuff, and those are stories for another day. I ended up buying all my own equipment to run the program out of the YMCA. Even though I was only a blue belt, I shared my knowledge with those who would. And good friend CJ Strongheart, who was a purple belt, then became a brown belt. He would drive into town and train with us every couple days and teach some real jiu-jitsu, and then on the off days just roll, do basic drills with my guys. And then we stayed pretty competitive still, did a couple more tournaments, and then eventually I made the move here down to Vancouver, and then took another roughly about 6 to 7 months off. I was working full-time as a sous chef, so I didn't really have time to train, but I still kept in shape, kept a high level of fitness. And I remember one day after about 6-7 months, CJ, who still lived up north, informed me that he was coming down for the AVA tournament, all versus all grappling fight style tournaments. Sometimes they have MMA divisions, but it was a submission only event. And I was like, submission only? I'm in pretty good shape. I was like, yeah, I'll jump in. So Jay's like, really? Yeah, why not? Just fight. That's what it is. Just a fight. Either he's going to submit me or I'm going to submit him. That's what it is. So picked a weight class, got in really good shape, showed up, and first, we'll save the tournament story for another day, but I ended up leaving with a gold medal in the gi division and a silver medal in the no gi division. Shortly after the AVA tournament, I quickly realized how I wasn't really happy with the career choice at the time. Like, I have a passion for cooking, I love cooking still, but it wasn't what I wanted to do full time. I always believed really, and wanted it more than anything, to be a world champion through martial arts, whether that be MMA, BJJ, wrestling, whatever it may be. I knew that was my path to walk, and then eventually I would open up my own schools, have my own affiliation, and train the next generation of fighters, both MMA and Jiu-Jitsu as well, or submission grappling if that's your preference. So, very fortunate, my friend Bilal ended up opening the Vancouver Academy of Muay Thai and Mixed Martial Arts, and he gave me a coaching job. So I started that job in May of last year, 2019, and continued it up until, well, even up until now, even though we're quarantined right now, so there's not a whole lot of gym, anything for anybody going on right now. But that is where I situate now. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, boxing coach, Muay Thai coach, and sometimes I teach Jiu-Jitsu classes as well, although I prefer to attend those than I do to actually teach them. I had a really good competition season last year, winning numerous gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals. I even won my first IBJJF event, competed at the IBJJF Toronto International Open, won a silver medal in the 67 kilograms, 77, whatever, in the lightweight division in the gi, and then I competed in the 99 kilo heavyweight no gi division. It's just a challenge to myself, and taking home bronze. So that was my first IBJJF experience. It was wonderful. I have many more planned to come. And then also, I actually received my purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from my professor, Bibiano Fernandez, who is also a 5-time IBJJF World Grappling Champion and also the current 1FC Bantamweight Champion. So that was back in October. I received my purple belt, and we're just moving on in the future. So I'm going to follow up with this with some old clips from some of my competitions. The quality on them won't be as great as the video you're viewing now. Most of it was shot on like iPhone and things like that, but I'll show you some of my handiwork. And then in future episodes we'll cover things like there'll be a vlog for every tournament I do in the future. There'll be training vlogs once gym opens back up. I'll bring guests onto the show, etc., so on and so forth. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to speaking with you guys in the future.